I want Jesus to walk with me. Well, in my trials, Lord, walk with me. When I'm in trials, Lord, walk with me. When my head is bowed in sorrow, I want Jesus. I want Jesus. I want Jesus to walk with me. Hey guys, welcome to the Sanctuary Church Online. This is Dwayne. I'm Noah. Welcome. That was kind of a different start. Well, we have him right here. What are we diving into today? Yeah.
So, we're in the book of Exodus today, which should be pretty good. I have to tell you, we're talking about the wilderness, and we're talking about the idea of how to survive the wilderness, which is something that's really important to understand, how to survive the wilderness. So,
like wilderness, like making fire and stuff, or
we'll
how to put a tent up,
talk about
or
it later,
oh,
okay? There'll be something.
We're going to talk about that. Welcome, guys. So, hope you guys enjoy this, and we'll talk after the service.
Hey, good day. How y'all doing? It's great to be here with you. Got a couple things we're going to go through today. I'm kind of excited about it. So we're going to start off with this idea that we are in Exodus. Exodus is a great book of the Bible. And it's talking about Moses, and Moses is leading the Israelites through the desert. And so we'll just start off. Exodus 17. You ready? Here we go. From the wilderness of Sin, the whole congregation of Israelites journeyed by stage as the Lord had commanded. And they camped at Rephidim. Rephidim is a place where there is no water for the people to drink. And so the people quarreled with Moses. And they said, "Give us water to drink, man." Moses said to them, "Why do you quarrel with me? Why do you quarrel with me? Why do you test the Lord?" But the people were thirsty for water. And the people complained against Moses. "Why did you bring us out of Egypt to kill us and our children, our livestock? They are even thirsty." And Moses cried out to the Lord, "Why? What shall I do with your people, God? They are almost ready to stone me." And the Lord said to Moses, "Go ahead of the people and take some of the elders with you from Israel. And take in your hand that staff that you struck the Nile with, and go and stand in front of the rock at Horeb, and strike the rock, and water will come out of it, and the people may drink." So Moses did so. And in the sight of the elders of Israel, he struck the rock, and water came out. See, first let me make it clear. What's pretty important to understand here is this idea that first, they are in the desert of Sin, which has nothing to do morally or something like that. It's just the name of the place. It's between Elim and the Sinai. It's the community has now journeyed for 6 weeks, and they are thirsty. And can you imagine what it really would be like to be journeying for 6 weeks and suddenly saying, "I am thirsty"? I mean, we live in a world where it's really kind of hard to even understand how there isn't food and drink. I mean, we can go anywhere. You can pull into, a 7-Eleven, you can pull into a gas station, and you get anything to drink, water, something to eat. See, there's food everywhere, but suddenly they're out in the desert, and they need something to drink. They are thirsty. And I mean, we have 24-hour grocery stores that exist, Piggly Wigglies and all of those and Whole Foods. The idea of it being difficult to get food or drink is hard for us to understand. It's hard for us to wrap our head around. I mean, many of us, if we had to, really, if somebody said, let's go run into the desert, let's take a trek into the desert, the first thing you would think about is I need food and I need water. I mean, it's like the understanding it's a survival technique that I'm going to follow these two brothers into the desert. And these two brothers their abilities are really early in the stages of formation to lead all of these people into the desert. And suddenly it's we are thirsty. And so the underlying question is, do you trust God is going to meet your needs? Because in the scriptures, it always starts out in the desert, in the wilderness. The imagery of spiritual awakenings happen in the desert, in the wilderness. Many people actually have true spiritual awakenings because they've gone out someplace that is secluded. See, this is the birthplace. This desert is the incubator of spiritual awakenings. It is barren, it is unknown, it is untamed, and you go out into it to have this awakening. And sometimes it's the first place that God actually connects with you in the most intimate ways. That God is with you. Because it goes far beyond our intellectual mind, or our mind of emotions or anything. It's a place where something deep inside you is born. It's a powerful place. So the scripture starts out that they were in the wilderness, the whole congregation, and they journeyed by stages. So the Israelites, they discover quickly that this is the wilderness and there's no water. And so they cry out and they grumble. I mean, and you have to understand, this is a mob of people. This isn't just everything's okay and great. This is a mob who wants to kill Moses because you dragged us out here. You and this one God idea. At least back in Egypt, we had food. At least we had drink. At least our children weren't going to die. Our livestock was not. And you drag us out here that if this is freedom, I'm not sure I want it. Because if freedom is living without water, I don't want it. And Moses is saying to God in this way of listen, these aren't my people. I didn't choose them. They're not mine. They're your choice, your people. And they're a mob and they're about ready to kill me. They are wanting to know if this one God, this God, is really going to respond to their physical needs. These people who moved from bondage and well-being are now at a place where they are at a crisis of faith. So God tells them, Moses, take that staff, okay, the one that you held out over there, that one, right? Take that staff, the one that they split the Red Sea, that one that you held, the one that you held over, yes, that one. And take it over there, and what I want you to do is I want you to hit that rock really hard. And it will crack open and there will be water. Now, I think that God could have done a lot of things in this picture. I mean, God could have had Moses come over and just lay his hands on it, and boom, the rock spread and the water comes pouring out and Moses stands there in the water as it parts around him. But no, I think that this was kind of cathartic. I think it was like, listen, Moses, I know you would much rather take that big stick that I gave you and beat these people in the head. But instead, I'm going to have you go over and hit that rock to get some of that out of you, okay? I don't think we need a mystical experience now. Moses, I think that maybe we just need to get some of that anger out of you. And so he goes over and he whacks the stone. And I bet he nails it. I bet he just almost breaks that thing. And the stone falls apart. And water pours out. And the people are provided for. See, for these people, this time is a spiritual awakening to trust God. Now, you need to understand, there's three different phases to a spiritual awakening. 3 different phases, or 3 different movements. And the first one is the wilderness. It is the wilderness. And listen, many people from time have gone out into the wilderness. Mystics have gone out into the wilderness to have these spiritual awakenings. You know, people go away for we used to take kids to Montreat, and I tell you, that was a place where there were spiritual awakenings because they got out there and they got out there in the woods and they got out there on the streams and they had awakenings of God's presence. And it deepened their relationship with God. That sometimes we just go to places that are silent and quiet. There are people that come into this church and they just sit and pray because they just need a place that's quiet, that things aren't going to deepen their relationship to God. Things are going on in their life that they're going, this is a wilderness that I've hit and I need to deal with it and I need to go to God and deepen this relationship. See, there are physical wildernesses that we get into. There are inter-wilderness. Wilderness would be, I'm sorry, Pastor Black, but your son was in an accident and he's now in the hospital. Wilderness. Or John, I have to tell you something, man. We're doing cutbacks and we're kind of resizing and downsizing and right-sizing and whatever size you want to hear, but you're not involved in that. You've lost your job. It's been eliminated. Wilderness. Or it's something like, we have to talk to you, there is a lump, and we're concerned. And we think it could be cancer. Wilderness. Or maybe it's, it's not me. I mean, it's not you. It's us. And I just don't think I love you anymore. Wilderness. A kind of aching that starts to happen. A feeling of loneliness. This is like an internal wilderness that you start. And this is where spiritual awakenings happen. Second movement is this rhythm, this response to the wilderness, and that is that how does this rhythm change us? I mean, we go through the why me, why now, why this? But then you start to say to yourself, what am I going to do with this? See, the Exodus story is about this idea of entering into the wilderness and wandering for 40 years, which just really means a really long time. And they come out on the other side, and 40 years they are wandering in the wilderness, and they come out on the other side. And they're not the same people. I was just talking to a person just earlier today, and he was telling me that he once was really, really wealthy and really, really rich. And just as fast as he got it, he lost it. And he said he went through a kind of wilderness of trying to find who and what he was and why and did he. And when he came out on the other side, he was not the same person that went into this. Everything had changed. Things had gotten stripped away. You start to look at the personal relationship with God and you say, how do I deepen this? Masks that you once wore, the pretense, are stripped away. They disappear because you start to have a relationship with the divine. So this second movement precedes the pain. But there's a change and a beginning to a relationship of loving God in a deeper way. You love God in a deeper way than you ever really understood. And the third movement is the water, this living water, that you start to realize that you are thirsty, and all the stuff you filled your life with doesn't seem to satisfy that thirst. The things that you thought tasted so sweet and were so important really have let you down over and over again. And you want something cool and refreshing that is going to change your life. Let me be clear, God never forces God's self on anybody. It's always, we are invited. And we invite God into our life to start changing everything. It's kind of like this vertical connection with God that then starts to reflect our horizontal connection with others, your brothers and your sister in humanity. That only when we deepen this relationship are we able to deepen this relationship. Because we think so many things will satisfy us and we find out they really don't. How many times do we think, if I only had that car, if I only had that, that house, if I only had, that person in my life, and then you say, well, wait, are any of those things really satisfying you? It may be like a blip that, but now it doesn't. I remember when my son was going, he was like, probably 12 or 13, and he was playing baseball. And it was like always the big thing, the team, each one of the parents would bring drinks. And so I thought, I want to be the cool parent, you know what I mean? Okay? So I'm not bringing water. I'm bringing every flavored drink I can find. If it's orange, purple, green, I'm bringing it. Cokes, yep, no problem, got those covered. But I want the kids to open up this thing and it'd be like a treasure chest, that they look into it and they see all these drinks that none of their parents would let them have normally. And here they all are for them, iced and ready to go for their hot little hands and hot little faces. And I'm like, I roll it out, and the coach goes, go ahead, get the drinks, go ahead. And I open the thing and the kids go, oh, how cool, this is so neat. They start singing my praise, They're like, oh, Noah, your dad is so cool, look at this, and they're popping open these orange drinks that I'm not sure, but there's nothing that has to do with an orange in this orange drink, if you know what I'm saying, okay? And these kids would drink these drinks, just pound them down and pound them down. And then I realized that actually all the stuff in that drink that I just gave those kids doesn't rehydrate them at all. In fact, it dehydrates them. And so they think they're drinking something that's the best thing in the world and it's cold and it's going down. But in all reality, it's dehydrating them. See, we sometimes think things are going to fulfill us, going to satisfy us. And we get it wrong. We get it really wrong. This is not going to fulfill me. This is not going to satisfy me. So the understanding that this spiritual journey that we're on, sometimes we hit the desert. And sometimes we think that this is what I need and this is what I need. And in that desert, those things get stripped away. And we start to wake up and our eyes are open. And we start to understand that there's an incredible mystery to this faith. And it's happening around us every day, outside and around. When you hear a child's laughter, you start to, This is the mystery of God creating something new. That God opens new doors for us as soon as we get our eyes open to seeing what is really important in our life. And God calls us to step out in faith into a deeply personal relationship, that maybe I need to get out into the desert to get to a place where I can actually feel and see God's presence around me. Opportunities to cross God's path. So how do we wake up? How do we walk through the wilderness? It first starts with a step, a relationship with God. That God, I want this living water. I want to be refreshed. I want to be renewed. You promised that if I drank this, I would never be thirsty again. So I ask you, can you meet me now in this place with this refreshing water? This relationship with you. And suddenly, I understand that you're calling me to journey and to meet you. It is deeper and wider than I ever understood. So God, please, when we are in the dry part of our life, let us meet you. Let us open our eyes to where you are and where you're leading us. Because you have things planned for us. You're not that concerned with our past, but you're really concerned with our future. Amen? Amen.
Hey. Hey, guys. So we got wilderness.
Wilderness.
So the whole, because I've always like that they're out there for 40 years?
Mm-hmm. It's a very Jewish way of saying a long time.
Okay, because I know some people kind of get stuck on there like, was it really 40 years? And you're like,
it's just a long time.
Seriously? That's your question?
But I think that in the length of time, what happened is that you had new people born into it.
Well, it's generations. Yeah.
And you had older people that maybe had, were kind of rigid in their thinking, pass away. And so you have a new group of people that are experiencing God in a whole new way.
Yep.
That maybe some of them really didn't even know about Pharaoh and all of that. There's a giant transition, and the metaphor of it is that, that there is, the metaphor is that Egypt represents what enslaves us. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the desert is a metaphor for the idea of how we get free from what has enslaved us in the past.
That makes sense. It's kind of like death to the new and rebirth to.
It's rebirth. Yeah. It's actually and again, it's not that Egypt, anything's wrong with Egypt. It's a metaphor, but it does state the idea that there are things in our life that have enslaved us. It could be anything from, the worship of money, the worship of, alcohol, drugs, or, whatever has enslaved us, whatever has held us back, that we enter into this wilderness to, take that relationship and allow those things to go backwards and allow our relationship with God to go forwards.
What about the whole process of, the desert is not the most forgiving place to be in.
No, it's not.
The kind of the concept of growth through struggle.
Yeah, I think that you probably could argue the point that most of the time that you've had the most growth in your life has had something to do with the struggle, whether it was school, whether it's work, whether it's a relationship, that wherever you've really struggled, a lot of times you have come to that point where you have to let go of some of the things that have gotten in the way, You have to realize that maybe the things that the mask or facades you've been wearing need to let go.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's and as we're going through Lent, these are the thoughts we're supposed to be having, is deeper thoughts of like, so, if you look at yourself and you say, what do I need to let go of?
Yeah.
What is getting in my way of a relationship with God? Or what do I need to add to my life that helps me in this relationship and guides me in this relationship to God?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think
Turn the volume up for the good, and it will allow you to kind of drown out the bad.
Yeah. It's
it doesn't always work in reality, but I mean,
I like that metaphor. Yeah. But the idea, like, turn the sound up for the good, and turn the sound off for the bad. Yeah. I was talking to a guy today. He said, as he's made his journey, there are songs and music that he used to listen to, and he said, I find that they don't bring the best out in me. So I have changed my playlist, to a different thing, because that does whatever it was, just didn't bring the best out in him. And I thought, well, that's pretty interesting, that he's that sensitive to what he puts into his head.
I think what you expose yourself to is what you tend to absorb.
What was that kid that we used to know? He'd say, show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
Yep.
And I was always, because who were you around and who were you getting a lot of input from? And again, I think that's probably pretty sound thinking,
Absolutely.
in a lot of ways. Hey, good?
Yeah, guys, thank you so much for joining us again on Sunday or on Saturday, on Thursday. There's a big group of people that join us on Thursday. You guys rock. If this meant something to you, this is the best time to press that little share button, because it probably means somebody to somebody else. And if you liked it, press the like button. It allows us to grow. It allows us to get in front of more people. If you want to see more of this, there's a little bell that comes up with that little like button, and you can click on that, and it'll let you know when we go live next.
And can you go to our website? And there's lots of stuff there too.
If you go to our website, it's pretty easy. It's TSCFTL. It's the Sanctuary Church, FTL, because we're in Fort Lauderdale. And you can check us out. There's those little thing on there. There's sermons, and you can check it all out.
All sorts of stuff.
Yeah, tons of stuff.
Okay.
You can even take next steps online.
That's
Next
good.
steps are awesome.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Take care.
See you guys.